So right now, skincare products are very trendy, and a lot of the products sort of look like yours, but you've been around for so much longer. So how can you speak to that as to why they sort of look similar to you?
Well, I don't know all the lines that are out there. I've made it a habit since my inception to not really look at most skincare. It's only been in the last several years, I'd say 3 to 5. I know there are companies out there have been around a lot longer than that. I know people know who I am. That's been extremely apparent. And when I've met some of these people, they usually attest to that. And I've even had someone locally say that if she knew that I existed, she would not have created her line. I don't believe that for a second, to be honest. I have never felt I've had any competition. When I started, there was, constantly guiding people on what certified organic and especially what biodynamic was, why that was important, why that agriculture was important. Unless people had used Dr. Hauschka or Vala products, Waleda, people didn't know what biodynamic was. So, I felt like I was always educating people about that and looking seriously to adhere to as much biodynamic as I could get, generally. But in the early days when people would ask me what my new trend was, I'd say I'm not trendy, I'm tried and true. It was kind of a constant response. I don't know everyone out there, but I myself, just in my travels, just going to my juice bar or whatever, I'm seeing Miron glass everywhere. So kudos to the Swiss company that makes full spectrum violet glass. I think their business is really growing. When I decided to use Miron glass back in 19 what? Was it even the 2000s? Yes. I've been using it about 12 years now. I'm trying to think. I remember asking my distributor, if anybody else was using it in skincare, and he said there was one company in Australia. So there was an Australia company using it. I didn't ask who that was. I typically don't, and just in the last couple of years, if this wasn't full spectrum violet glass, which really just fits so perfectly with who we are as a company, I'd probably change my packaging so that I look a little different. I think everyone that uses Miron glass is using the same pumps, the same sprays. Unfortunately, they have a neck size that only uses a certain pump, so we just do. That's unfortunate. Aside from that, I think the internet, something I wrote about in authenticity, and we did a podcast on it a little bit, is that, the internet has changed things. People can Google skincare and find a million DIY sites, and with all the essential oil and the multi-level companies that are out there, just offshoots of the originals, is what they are. Even the aromatherapy books, so many of them are just copycats of another book. Where's the real information coming from? So I think what's really important to know is that when you're investing in a skincare company because a friend recommended it, or somebody and you see that it's luxury or high end and you want to spend that kind of money, find out what the purpose is, not just what the essential oils are, the raw materials in particular, what one essential oil does, or tell me about, I'm constantly talking about purpose of product, functionality of product, how it works, why it works, and why you will have longevity with that product. We all have dysfunction in our skin. When we're aging, Some age a lot younger, they start premature aging. But what can we do to saturate the skin with water, saturate the skin with antioxidants, and saturate the skin with purification and immune strength? What are the holistic reasons we create skincare? And I don't think that most can speak to that truly. Whether you're private labeling it and there is a private labeler in San Rafael who now uses the Miron glass. I can't speak to what her formulations are. I know that she founded her business on my formulations. That is the truth. And so I guess I would speak to those people and say, why not go to the original company? But that's a whole nother story I'm willing to talk about to anyone who wants to hear it. But I know who I am. I don't copy other companies. You know, I think we're a civilization of sheep. It's just our natural capacity. If somebody decides to put kale on their menu, you see, no matter where you go, and I travel, that any farm-to-table restaurant's going to have kale on the menu. At this point, I'm like, use chard. Do something different, you know. I appreciate kale. Juice bars, pressed juiceries, you know, everybody has the same juice, you know, maybe a little slant to make them a little more authentic. But I think by and large, people need to know what the function and purpose is of what you're using. You know, I stand alone. I've been around since 1986, to be honest. Benedetta was realized in 1996 because we got our business license February 1st, 1996. It doesn't mean that it just blank into existence. It took some years to perfect and get it into the marketplace. And it was something that did not exist prior because this is an authentic line. Recently somebody wanted me to talk, and I think we're going to do a blog, I think tomorrow. Are we going to do a blog on water integration? On water integration, and we talk about that a lot, how important that is to the cells and why, you know. So I think people should really question more about purpose and function and why it's important to stick with one product, you know, and you know, your companies should be able to give you good customer care. For me, this has always been about service. You know, I could have created an herbal line or an aromatherapeutic line and just focused on the medical applications of essential oils and how it worked on our systemic health and really gone in that direction. But it just was the timing and what was needed. I was an esthetician. I had clients. There were no products that I felt great about using on my client. You know, when we started with the Crystal Radiance Hydrating Elixir, I had no intention of creating a full line. But in the 4 years that, you know, it was sold in commerce, I also became an educator, and in talking to people at trade shows and talking to esthetician and wellness practitioners, they wanted a line. So it was really a demand I was fulfilling. You know, people asked for it. So I didn't take that lightly. I really, really wanted something, you know, the cleanser was really the foundational product that once we get that in play, because without that, you know, without that systemic kind of purification, when I say systemic, I knew that these oils were going to penetrate deeper into the epidermis and create something that was really unique. It has by far surpassed anything I could ever have imagined it could do. I mean, I saw the science behind it and the beauty behind it and the clinical application of it, but I had no idea that later in years we'd hear that it would, over time, diminish age spots, that it would, by putting on and leaving it on all night, would get rid of a blemish that was deeper into the dermis. And when people would give me these, you know, reports, I'd think about it, you know, makes sense, makes sense, I get it, right? So yes, I think there are companies that, you know, they can't copy what I do, but they can copy my message. And I think that clouds the airways. I really do.